Hey guys, I'm Danny,
And I'm EJ, and this is the Your Living Proof podcast.
where we talk about addiction and how it affects the family, from the brutal to the beautiful and everything in between. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Your Living Proof podcast. We're so glad you're here. I can't believe we're getting close to 100.
Yep.
100 episodes.
Today's 94.
On podcast days sometimes, I don't know why it brings out some intensity. Seems like it's always a difficult day for us. So I'm thinking that we survived 100 trying times.
Oh, wow. Gosh, I didn't feel like it was that bad.
I'm just kidding. It's
No,
not.
you're not.
It's not bad, no. But, you know, we do know that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, so every day is a challenge. No comment.
No.
This is episode 94, and we love it. The end of the year right now, I know everyone's going crazy. There's so much going on. But with the new year here upon us, we want to really cover some important things. Before we do, can we just share an announcement that's so awesome?
Yes, let's talk about it because it is so awesome.
We
And
just
you probably don't know about it.
Yeah, we just recently launched a 501c3 nonprofit called the Living Proof Family Foundation. Super cool. Because believe it or not, like when we're vetting people and people are vetting us, looking for solutions for, these families are trying to find help. Believe it or not, a lot of their loved ones have hurt them financially or not put them in the best situation, right? Most of them have been thriving financially. And so the barrier to entry for a lot of these people to get help is financial. Now, not for everyone, but for those that it is, we're trying to remove that barrier to give them help so that the families can get this support.
Yeah. And and what's really cool is it kind of came from people in our community wanting to give back, saying,
Yeah, to pay it forward.
We'd really love to sponsor someone. Is there a way to do that? And that's kind of what spurred this. And it was just from within our own community. And so it's just so fun to see. It's already just been so cool to just be a part of it and to launch it and to have success already and to have this opportunity to bless other people that wouldn't be able to take advantage of this.
Yeah, I don't even think
program.
It's been 2 months since we had it, and there's been quite a few people contribute. And we've been able to help 2 families already start this process, and it's been transformative. Believe it or not, families are so amazing, and all you have to do is educate them, give them the tools and support, and they'll approach these situations so much different.
Yeah. So it's now actually officially on our website. You can go there if you're feeling inspired. You can donate too, or you could share it with someone else. But it is so cool to have the Living Proof Family Foundation officially out.
Yeah, please share it, support it if you can. We're excited about it. So today we wanted to share something as we go into the new year, 8 things to know. Okay, if you love someone stuck in the deadly trap of addiction, 8 things to know that everyone needs to know, whether this is your spouse, your sibling, your parent, your child, the 8 things they need to know.
Yeah, and I like this because, the way we're approaching it, it's really to help you better understand not just addiction itself, but how to support both your loved one through this and yourself through this difficult journey. So there's 8 things to really, really help you understand those 2 different perspectives.
I love that because there are 2 different. I get to speak with so many different people. It's usually like which one hurts worse.
Yeah.
Like their need to help their loved one, or sometimes they're like, I don't even care about them right now. I hurt.
Yeah.
I can't escape this pain.
It's so true. So that's what we're going to do today.
Let's get right into it. So in some of these we've talked about in other episodes, so hopefully it serves as a reminder.
Yep.
But the reason we talk about them again is because they're universal principles that affect everyone.
Yeah.
Regardless of race, religion, background, these are universal truths. So if you love an addict, let's get into it. Number 1, addiction requires blame to survive. It has to blame someone or something for it to continue. For an addict, their need to protect their substance it often leads them to blaming others, circumstances that happen, things that happen. And you know what the thing about blame is? You could be right.
That's the most lethal thing about blame.
What did I say?
No, you said you know what the thing is,
Oh,
but
okay, good.
I'm saying that's why it's such a lethal and paralyzing thing, is because they could be blaming it on something that is completely real and true.
Well, let's
Or you could be.
both. Let's just use the addict's perspective, the person struggling with the addiction. Let's say they were kind of bullied in school. Maybe they were neglected at home. Maybe they were in some way. Or let's say something terrible happened. They were sexually abused by a relative. They were injured and dealt with some sort of ailment, for, physical deficiency in their life. There could be something very easy to pinpoint that on. So every time they're taking a drink or smoking whatever they're doing, it's okay because they blame it on that thing that happened. And that's the thing about blame, is you could be right. But on the other side,
yeah, what if I'm blaming it on something because I know I did something? What if we moved and it was super traumatic for them? Or what if I got divorced and that, was really hard on them? Or, just
we've
something
been
very real.
Correct. And we've been working through the parents in our program have been working through some of these that are so amazing. Like, maybe the business was stressful at the beginning, or the relationship was kind of struggling when the kids were younger. There's something very significant and that they could blame it on. And the issue is it distracts us from what matters most right now, and that your loved one is sick. This is not a thing of behavior. They're not acting out of character. They have been self-medicating for long enough that they've now developed a disease and they're sick. So do not let it distract you. It takes the attention away from where the attention needs to be.
Yes.
Which is putting in place opportunities. Oh, and by the way, guess what? Today in group, we had this breakthrough. I was with like a dozen other people in this powerful group, and one of the mothers said, we've got to stop using the word boundaries. It doesn't give respect to what we're doing. We are giving them opportunities, and it stems from love. So when we stay focused on blaming something, it removes the opportunity for this person to get the help they need.
Amen.
Last thing I'm going to say on blame, and this one's the pill that's hard to swallow. Until you overcome this and many other things of what you're blaming yourself for, we are enabling. Addiction requires someone close to it. Now, usually for the longest period of time, that is mother or parent. In a marriage, it would be the spouse. So addiction requires someone closest to it to continue being abused for it to survive. Now, even if a person does the right thing, puts opportunities in place, which we know are called boundaries, they may go do this with someone else, but usually the person who is abused the longest and the hardest is the person who loves them the most.
Yeah.
So backwards about addiction. But that is number one.
And let's just move on to number two, which is they have tried to stop.
This
I
one's
know
hard.
that one's hard. I know that one's hard.
This one is really hard because I know it so well. I know it from their perspective. I tried everything. It became blatantly obvious that things were not sustainable. There was a problem, and I tried everything I could.
Yeah.
I tried everything I could. I put myself through so much agonizing pain and discomfort over and over and over, trying to do it on my own. So I hope this is something that we can start moving forward. Remember how people used to smoke on airplanes? Like you get on an airplane and there's an ashtray. Mm-hmm. Do they even have that anymore?
No.
Are they still there?
No.
Okay, well, it wasn't that long ago.
A really old plane, but
yeah,
I haven't seen one.
When I was younger, they had them on there, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, were we that dumb that like somebody thought it was okay for people to smoke on a plane?
Yeah.
We've improved as a society. And I hope what we've improved on is understanding that this person we're talking about, your loved one, you know who they are, who they were before this. If they were able to get out of this situation on their own, which is what you've been waiting for them to do. Most of you have been waiting for this person to wake up and take the wheel of their life again. They would have. They would have, no matter how convincing they are with what they blame it on or how they use their tactics to keep you hopeful or fearful or whatever it is, guilty. They want out of this and they've tried.
And I think that is so important to remember. It might not feel that important to remember, but it is important because if they're still stuck in this, and you know that they have tried to stop, that should be a signal to your brain going, they cannot do this without me. Right? Like, they have tried to stop. Even if you thought it was a pitiful attempt, or even if you didn't even know that they've tried to stop, you haven't observed that. They have tried to stop. They feel trapped by it too. It's a full-time job doing what they're doing.
But even the shame around it is so hard that they've tried. They're not going to come forward and tell you. So it's a good one to know. I think spiritually, and in our faith, it's hard. And in most good Christian people, it is this knowing we have this thing of agency. Mm-hmm. We've all been given it. It's like the one God-given thing that we all have. Even if you live in countries where your freedom is a little different than others, you have agency to choose.
Right.
If I challenge you, if that's a hard one for you to overcome, that you think a person still has agency to choose, I would look at the progression of this. For most people, when they finally recognize their loved ones dealing with this disease, it's progressed to a point, and you can clearly recognize they can't. They're unable. You've asked them and pleaded with them, maybe threatened them for a long time, like to figure this out. They can't. If they would have, they would be out of this mess already. So it's that notion of the smoking on an airplane thing. I hope we come to a point as a society sooner to realize that is the truth. They don't have agency. They don't have control. Someone else is going to have to intervene.
Yes. Okay, so point number 3, addiction ragdolls the best families.
It does not discriminate. And can I just come out swinging?
Please.
The best of families struggle the hardest.
For sure.
And I don't like to, I'm not labeling families, but if I'm working with a single mother who is just struggling, doing the things, working her butt off, managing everything herself, and has a son or a daughter who goes through this, extremely difficult, right? Circumstances are hard. But she's actually more willing to get help. She'll gladly welcome help, education, tools, and try things. It's the families that have done well enough in life. They've succeeded at so many things, spiritually, physically, financially. They get ragdolled the most because they try to do it on their own for the longest time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those families, the good families like your family, like my family, it's not till things get so undeniably terrible and ugly where people are like, okay, fine, we have a problem.
Yeah, or I mean that they're willing to surrender and be like, I actually need help with this.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, it's interesting because it's like they know that they have a problem, but they just think at some point, like, it's going to autocorrect, right? Like, at some point, this person has been taught well enough that they're going to, like, self-correct here, or you know, we're going to just figure out this magical solution that's just going to come out of the sky. Or our prayers are going to solve this, right? Like, our prayers are going to be answered, and that will be like the miracle of this person being healed without really anything else changing.
Correct.
Right?
The big aha moment for some of these families, and I'm not trying to criticize them. I'm just trying to call it out for what it is. That's why addictions can sometimes thrive the most in these incredible families, and it ragdoll them the hardest, is because they just try to handle it in-house. They try to do better, right? Like, we're the Johnsons. Clearly, they were taught better. They know better. Look at all their siblings and us. They've been given an example. They know better. Mm-hmm. They look at it different, and it creates this thing called uniqueness. Clinical uniqueness, in my world, is what it's called. The biggest aha moment for a lot of these families when they get into this program, they don't like it, and it's a difficult process, but when they come to know some of these other families and get to know them, they immediately look at these families and are like, oh, wow, they're respectable people. Like,
yeah,
these are our people. And then they hear themselves in these other people almost thinking and saying and claiming the same things. The big aha moment is everyone's like, oh my gosh.
The clinical uniqueness, it just goes away. It disappears immediately.
And it's empowering. Because it's almost like it stops putting this stigma this unique thing that like it's not okay to have a stain on your shirt if you're in this family. You know what I mean? That makes sense?
Yeah.
So please, if you are a family who is awesome, you're an all-star family, and someone in your home is struggling, I plead with you to stop now. Don't let this go on for another 6 months or 2 years. Seek help. It's okay if people know someone in your family struggling.
Yeah.
It's okay because all of them are too.
Right.
So we can't let it ragdoll families. And you know what? I hope that helps the perspective. If your family's being ragdolled in a uniquely horrible way, stop allowing that uniqueness to hold your family hostage. Can we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Number 4, moving along. They're still good, and so are you. We did a post on this on our Instagram page, which I loved.
Yeah.
But just because this is the situation doesn't mean they're a bad person.
No, and you're not a bad parent or a bad spouse. And it's so normal for people in this situation. It's 90% of the time, it's this. Hey, I love what you and your husband do. It's so awesome. I love your work. I have a son that's struggling, and well, let me just tell you first. They are so awesome. They are, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, they're like the most amazing person. Like, their whole life, they've been like a magnet, for amazing things. They've accomplished this. But this last 2 years, man, they've really struggled with this. Like, do you think that there's a problem? Again, they're such a good kid.
No, and it's the thing. And if you went to a treatment center, most of the people in these facilities, if you came with me and we went around and toured them, they're full of the people like that. The one that lights the room up, that everyone wants to be around.
It's just interesting because I'm like, of course they're good. Of course they are. And of course you are. And of course your family is. Addiction doesn't pick on crappy families. I mean, sure, it does, but it also
it's just passed down.
It also just picks on everyone.
Can I look in the camera and say something that I get to speak
That's
clearly?
your prompting to go to to go to YouTube and watch this.
Your loved one, whether it's a sex addiction, alcohol, terrible things like fentanyl, abusing, whatever it is, that is not the problem. That was for so long until it wasn't just, I don't know, time period ago, the solution. But it's almost embarrassing. It's almost like we look at this thing and we're like, oh, we're ashamed. And they have to like prove that their loved one was a really good person before they started doing cocaine or meth or having a sex addiction. For one reason or another, your loved one found something. It could have been curiosity, peer pressure, dumb decision, being guilted into. I don't know. They found and did something that made them feel so good. That whatever they were holding inside that they didn't want to share with people, maybe they didn't feel as good as, they didn't feel included, they didn't feel loved, they didn't feel... Most people that suffer from this disease of addiction, it's like an allergy. Like you're just almost allergic to your own skin inside and you don't know exactly why. You just are unsettled all the time. It's just this constant allergy to your own body and skin. And then all of a sudden, something that you take, you shouldn't be, it's wrong, takes that away and it makes you feel good. In the beginning, it makes them a better person. In the beginning, drugs and alcohol actually help people pray better, to feel connected better, to interact with people better, to love better, to work better. They are a really good person who found something that made them feel the way they've been searching and wanting to feel their whole life, and now they're sick. What's unfortunate is with the disease of addiction, it's such a nasty one that now what's manifesting is lying, deceit, abuse, manipulation. All of these characteristics that, again, are just as horrible as the drugs that you found when you realized what was going on, or alcohol. They're a great person who is very, very sick. So my challenge to everyone is to always remember this. Separate the disease from the person. When your loved one's addiction progresses to the point that it's undeniable, separate the disease from the person. And at first people are like, I can't do that because that's like condoning or excusing their behavior. No, you separate the disease from the person so you stop taking it so personal. So you stop expecting them to just snap out of this and realize they're sick. That isn't my son. That isn't my husband. who is doing this to me. They are literally being controlled by Satan himself. He's got his talons so deep inside, he's ragdolling them. And meanwhile, now it's ragdolling all of you. So stop. Stop thinking they're not a good person. They are a great person. But are we willing to do the scary, necessary things to give them an opportunity to change? That's what we got to work on. So
I love that. Thank you so much.
Let's jump into 5. Do you want to do that one?
Number 5 is wanting it for themselves will never start the process.
Grace, lie about addiction.
It is. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to hear that, Danny.
It is the greatest lie about addiction is that they have to want it for themselves. And every time I do it, there's a conversation, a spirited one, where people disagree, especially people of good faith.
Yeah, they're like, no, they have to want it for themselves. If they don't want it,
Yep.
I can't force them.
Or maybe they've heard that on a show or something and somebody's told them that. Now, the truth is...
I mean, the other thing is like, they're like, well, I can get them. I've taken them to rehab before. And they just leave. So they have to want it for themselves. So you're wrong.
They do have to want it for themselves. And the goal is to hopefully, with enough time, have them develop the desire to want it for themselves. But it will not ever be what gets the process started.
Say that again, because that's the most important part.
Them wanting it for themselves will never be what gets the process started. It is critical, once the process is started, that they come to believe that and come to want it for themselves. But nobody starts the process of recovery unless something terrible happens. And it's usually one of 3 things. It's death for far too many. It's a judge or an officer. They get in trouble, they get caught, and the law's like, well, go sit in a cage or go get help. Or a family that learns to do this through boundaries, better known as opportunities now. We're going to change that. That's what happens. They'll have to want it for themselves, but also the number one component to a person's recovery is time. So they've got to get the process started and then have enough time in that process to all of a sudden one day wake up and be like, okay, I like myself just a little bit. I hope just a little bit. Maybe there's a chance, a miracle, I can be forgiven. But if you're waiting for them to want it for themselves, you're waiting on a day that will never happen. Step up and learn how to intervene effectively. And what's even better is if you actually learn how to support them through a full program of recovery.
Yeah. You should listen to the previous podcast on interventions.
Yeah, but yes, that's a good one that we just did. So number 6, moving right along, no amount of love, sacrifice, or negative consequences will stop this. But boy, does every good woman, father, family member try that route.
Oh my gosh. But it makes sense. It's the most natural response. It is. It is in your soul, especially as a woman. I can only speak as a woman because that's what I've been my whole life. But
are you sure?
Positive.
I know. I already know that for a fact.
It is in our nature to want to just love someone through this, or to want to fix it for them by sacrificing our own well-being so that they can be fixed.
Well, we read about it. It's in Scripture and it's everywhere. To love one another. And even like to love the person who smites you or whatever, right? Like,
yeah. This
isn't a person, clear-minded, healthy, that has a different belief system as you, has opposing beliefs, I guess. This is a person that's sick with the disease of addiction. And what's really tragic, if you've ever gotten to a point, well, I've witnessed it many times, where a mother, now estranged from her husband, her other children, is nursing this 35 or 36-year-old son in her basement who's dying from alcoholism or drug addiction, who has sacrificed herself, who's gained weight, whose hair's turned gray, who's stopped hanging out with her friends, who's financially been hurt because she keeps supporting this person. Do you know that all of it was out of love?
100%. They literally will love them to death.
And it's hard because what we're trying to do and even in our program, sometimes feels very wrong. Actually, I'd say most of the time it feels wrong.
Yeah.
And people around it say, that's not love. That's mean.
Yeah.
That's inhumane. That's not nice.
Not Christ-like.
Yes. Because what are we doing? We're creating an opportunity for someone, and it's hard, it's scary, it changes things. It might be threatening to their discomfort or to their dysfunction. This is redefining love. And if anyone wants to think it's mean out there, I'm sorry, you are wrong. You started down this path trying to save them with your love, and then guess what addiction did? It grabbed it and went like this. And it used it as a weapon to keep you sick and supporting them. That is how ugly this disease is. That is how powerful this disease is. Satan has used, I mean, all these families that are doing all the right things to keep light and love and the spirit of God in their home, he found a way in.
Yeah.
And then everyone's love and what they're taught through their faith gets used against them. And their love is keeping a person sick. And it's preventing them from doing the difficult things of putting opportunities in place for their loved one because it feels wrong.
Yeah. And that is so powerful. You might want to like hit rewind like twice, 30 seconds twice, just to hear that part again, because it's just so critical that you understand that.
What if your loved one couldn't walk again? How difficult. The sacrifices you would make. Financially, emotionally, physically, even if it affected your love life and things like that, right? Like that is love. That's where love is used, where it's supposed to be, even in these difficult situations. We keep looking at the disease of addiction like that. It's a cancer. It's not a virus. We have to treat it different. And if people doubt me, like it doesn't matter who I'm speaking to, there's always people who push back. Let's look at the statistics. Of the 48 or whatever million people known go to the Department of Health and Human Services, we talked about this earlier.
48 million.
48 million, and that's of known ones, right? And most of them are unknown. So let's say the numbers double. 94% of them are never getting the proper treatment. They're never getting a chance. They're never going to recover. Why? Because they don't feel like they need it. We're failing. We're failing miserably because it's hard, because it feels uncomfortable to do this. But we need to give more people a chance. That's why we're going through these. So I hope you make note of them. And also, I'll tell you right now, here's a little pitch. You need to get support, because even if these make sense and you can feel and see them clearly, when you go back on your own without constant support and tools, you will fall right back into it.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into this next one.
Yeah, let's go number 7.
Which is number 7. Professional help will be required for both of you. For your loved one who is obviously sick, but also for you.
Hard pill to swallow. You didn't do anything. You didn't deserve to be in this situation. Why? What do you mean you need help? Why do so many people go in and out of treatment? Because it doesn't last, because no one knows what to do. A woman in group this week shared the most beautiful example. What if there's a fish in a dirty fish tank, swimming around, struggling to swim, can barely breathe because it's so dirty, and they pull that fish out, scoop them out, clean them off, rinse them off, get them all perfectly clean again, and put them back in the fish tank. Was the fish tank cleaned? Did they clean that, or did they just focus on the dirty fish? We've got to get ourselves healthy. And even again, going back to that point, the best of families are like, oh, we're good.
Yeah, I was going to say it always, that one is always hard, because you think, no, we're good. Like, we're good. It's just them that's has the problem. And I get that, but what is easily revealed in a short amount of time is how sick the rest of you have gotten, how sick your home has become. Even if every problem could be aligned straight back to that person, it still has to be dealt with. The feelings, the problems, the relationships, the resentments, all of it, all the boundaries that have been crossed over and only held in place for some people, but not this one person, and all of that pain, it has to be processed. Things have to be things have to change. That dirty fish tank, no matter how perfect you think yours is, it needs to be cleaned.
Well, the truth is, there's quite a few who get an opportunity to go get help, right? They go, they get help, and they come back to the same environments, like we said, the fish tank. But the ones who go and get help and come home to an environment, it's like, oh my gosh, we totally now understand what to do. We know how to navigate the road ahead. I'm not going to be overreactive. I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to enable, but we know how to support you. We've actually worked better too, so that like we realize how it affected us and it's brought us together as a family. Those people recover.
Yeah.
Almost every time.
Isn't that wild? Like, isn't that so interesting though?
It's crazy.
Because you really do just focus all of the attention on that dirty fish that just got out of the water. And that's great. And obviously they need help. Obviously. No one's going to argue that. But if they come back and you're still arguing with your spouse about, well, how do we handle this situation? Or what do we do here? Or what is this going to look like moving forward? Or are you kidding me? What they do know how to do is manipulate. So it will be second nature to come back home and to kind of pick up where they left off, even if they don't want to, even if that's not their intention in the beginning. They will, because that's what they know best. They don't have enough time under their belt. They have to develop new habits. You have to provide a structure so clean and healthy that they can get more time to develop new habits.
It is, and it's the big secret missing piece is it when families do this. And I'll give an example with mine. Like they were good. Like they didn't need anybody's help. And finally, when we went through this whole cycle and they did get help, believe it or not, when I went to treatment almost 18 years ago, there was a huge emphasis on the family. My family had to participate in a week-long intensive family support, working through all the stuff we just talked about. They don't do that anymore at facilities. There might be one or two left in the country, and boy, you better have a lot of money to pay for them that offer it. The rest of them just don't. And I won't get into the reasons why. There's a huge demand, and they don't need to anymore, but there's several other points. Families had to do this back in the day because they knew how effective it was when you help the family heal. Also, that person had the greatest chance. It's not being done anymore. Do you think my family has not faced serious difficulties in the last 17 and 18 years? Serious challenges within our family, within siblings, within children, the grandchildren. My family learned the most critical lessons going through, of all things, a recovery from their son and brother who had a terrible addiction. But it changed when they were willing to do this. Also, it changed, and not only did it help me recover, but everything we faced as a family over the last almost 2 decades has been approached the same way. It's powerful. So not only does it help your loved one, but it changes the environment in your family, and it can be the greatest thing that ever happened. Last thing I'm going to say, do not let happen. I've witnessed this recently a few times where like a spouse goes into a treatment center. They're there for 3 months. They come out, they're working an intensive outpatient program. They're now 6 months down the road. Mm-hmm. They've put so much effort into their recovery. They've gone from that hole they were in and transcended up to a place that's pretty great. And even their loved one who was just ragdolled this whole time, who did nothing, was just on the journey with them, is only this far in the journey.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're just listening, they're way behind. That can't happen. So even if your loved one's lucky to go get help and recover, if you don't, from how you've been abused and affected by the addiction, we can't allow that to happen.
No.
It's crazy that it does.
No, that's a recipe for disaster.
Okay, number 8. Let's go. This is our last one.
Yes. They cannot do this without you.
Is that contradicting what we just said?
No.
It may sound contradictory, but it's so true.
Well, I think this one is a tough pill to swallow because, I mean, I can hear all the women out there going, okay, that sounds like a codependent thought. Like they need me and like I have to rescue them or I have to. That's not what we're saying. And certainly if this is a situation where you are being physically abused or this is a dangerous situation, we're not saying, gosh, it's your obligation to help them. They'll never survive without you. No, we're not saying that.
They can't do it without you. I couldn't have. I did excruciatingly difficult things for a long period of time. But for me to sit here and say I did any of it because I just wanted to is a lie. And every great man or woman that I've met who is no longer a recovering addict, they are recovered. They're my heroes, and they're some of the greatest people I know. If you listen to their story, thankfully, they also had the miracle occur in their life that the people closest to them learned.
Yeah.
They healed. They were empowered. Because it's going to require you, or you can wait for a judge. Please don't wait for death. It's going to be you who learns how to effectively intervene. Now, are they going to have to want it for themselves? Yes. But you will greatly impact that.
Yes.
Your boundaries, better known as now opportunities, are going to significantly impact their path forward. Now, we don't get to control everyone. We don't get to guarantee that it helps everyone, but it will significantly increase the statistics that are out there now of people who recover. And I hope that by doing this, every one of you, whether your loved one recovers or not, will know, guess what? This thing, this nasty illness did not drive us apart. It united us. We were ready. We were prepared. We healed. We presented that opportunity. So you know what? Going into the new year, can we just give a little plug?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is a good opportunity for us to talk about, like, if these points are hitting and you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. I need help. I need support. I'm willing to think about that. Let's talk about, because we always talk about our program, but we never really dive into, like, what does it mean? Like, if somebody were going to enroll and join the Living Proof process today, what does that look like?
Well, go to our website. And with the time left, I don't want to take too much. But go to our website. And first, if you haven't already, I challenge you to watch the free Masterclass. We made it for you. It wasn't for your loved one. It was for you. It was the mother, the father, the spouse.
And that's linked. I'll link all of it.
On the sideline, wondering what to do. Who's been loving this person the best they can, sacrificing everything. Go watch the Masterclass and learn. And if it intrigues you, you can next step is schedule a free call just to find out more, ask questions, learn about it, at which point we'll give you all the details. But in the program, there are layers of support. This isn't some large-scale thing where it's other people. There's people involved, but it is directly interactive with me and other small groups of people just like you. There is a series of, 75 instructional lessons that walk you from point A to Z with all the exercises and resources that you need in your loved one's recovery, but simultaneously is direct access to me. We're going to work through all the logistics. Do you have insurance? What will insurance pay for? Where can they go? What will it cost? Great. How long are they there? What is my role? We work through everything. We check all the boxes of how to get your loved one help, what that looks like, but then we start looking at you. Okay, well, great. Well, how have you been affected? Let's make sure to get these things in order so when they get home, you know what to expect. I think one of the greatest things in our program is reading the mantra that we read all the time. And it's people truly learning what their role is and isn't in their loved one's journey, learning how to effectively intervene and how to support a full program of recovery. And if their loved one chooses not to recover right now, they can begin their path to recovery. Mm-hmm. And that this addiction will not continue to control them. So there's layers and layers of support. There's one-on-one support. This is offered every single week. There are small group, private group, which is so much different than the public free ones out there. Trust me. That you get access to multiple times a week. There's a private community where you get to meet and interact with other people in your same situation. Again, these amazing all-star families. Not only do you have the resources, that like the roadmap with all the courses and the resources, but you have the constant nurturing support. So when you come back and all of a sudden next week it feels wrong, I just can't do that. Can't keep that opportunity in place for them, that boundary. You're constantly supported. And when you do get them into recovery, you're going to be learning every week what to expect, how to engage with them, how do we set boundaries, how do we help without enabling. It's just everything will, and again, they need you to do it. And isn't it unfair that you have to commit and do this work? If you want to be the statistics where you change a soul and save a family and learn the most valuable lessons you could through no other situation, this is how you do it. That's how you do it.
It's true.
So I probably went off for too long. Did I give enough
you
detail
didn't.
of it?
I thought it was awesome. Any more details, you can always reach out on Instagram or via email at info@yourlivingproof.com. We want to help. We want more families at this time next year to be really enjoying the holidays instead of just trying to survive it with this person that's out of control. So,
and I'll proudly say right now, in our program, I shared the statistics earlier, right? Like 94% of people never get help. So what does that mean? 6% of people do. In our program, it's just over 50% of the people have got their loved one into recovery and are fully aware of how to support them. The other part, the other half, or just under half, have restored order to their home, are nurturing and rebuilding and rekindling the relationships around them, have clearly offered solutions and put opportunities in place to their loved one. They're going to join the other half as well here soon. And it's a heck of a lot better than the other 94% of people out there just waiting for their loved one to wake up and want it for themselves. Let's do better.
What I think is cool, because we surveyed all of the people in our program, is that 100% of the people, regardless of what their loved one's situation is, felt completely different than before they started, as in they feel more peace in their life. They have hope. They have stability. They have an idea of how to move forward. They're not they're not losing sleep, feeling lost about things
no longer blaming
anymore.
themselves. Yeah.
I mean, all of these benchmark things that, people report feeling, I feel hopeless, I feel lost, I'm at the end of this road and I don't know where to go. I have completely flip-flopped just simply by getting this type of support.
Correct.
So it's here for you if you want it.
Come and get it.
We're going to close with the serenity prayer, as always, for families. God, grant me the serenity to accept that I cannot change other people, the courage to change the person that I can, and the wisdom to know that it is me.
Hope you all had a great holidays and Happy New Year. Thanks.
See ya.